What's up everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about Forza Horizon 5 and if it was snubbed of a Game of the Year nomination from the Game Awards 2021 with Jeff Keighley. But before we get into that, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the new channel here. Also hit that notification bell to get my videos first, where we cover more Xbox and PlayStation news. So let's go ahead and get right into this, because this has been somewhat of a low-key or mini controversy when it comes down to it. Forza Horizon 5, the highest rated major exclusive, highest rated game, major game of 2021, will not be included in the Game of the Year nominees at the Game Awards. It just didn't get enough votes. But it did get votes for like some audio design. It got votes for like racing game of the year or sports simulation racing, something like that. So it's not like it's not being acknowledged at all. But unfortunately for many of the gearheads out there, and of course the Xbox fans that are enjoying this, and also with the announcement of 10 million players across the PC and Xbox platforms, obviously Forza Horizon 5 is one of the most popular and highest rated titles of this year. And to not see it at one of the nominees for the Game of the Year definitely raised a few questions for people out there. So let's go ahead and break down what's going on here and if it actually got snubbed. So first and foremost, Jeff Keighley says that he does not vote or pick the games for the Game of the Year. That is done through the panel that they have. It's various different journalists from different websites, IGN and GamesBeat. There are various different outlets where they're the ones who actually pick the Game of the Year. So that's something that we have to make sure that we get clear. Jeff Keighley does not pick those, which he stated multiple times. And I'm pretty sure he's tired of answering that question, because he's starting to get a little bit snarky with some of the people in the comments on Twitter when they come after him with certain things. And I can understand where Jeff is coming from with that. It gets kind of tiring when he's stated over and over for years now that he does not pick. However, I do think that there needs to be some type of regulation when it comes to certain things, right? Like obviously if you look at Forza Horizon 5, I've played the game myself and I do think that the game is fantastic. I think that the game is really good. And if there was a year that the highest rated Metacritic game should get in, it would probably be this year. Now they do have some type of self-imposed like 6-game limit. You can't do more than that. But this might have been a good year for 7 games based off the quality of Forza Horizon 5. But here's what I'll say with this. Did the game get snubbed? Yes, the game got snubbed. I do feel that if the game has that high of a score, obviously it's a super high quality and really good game. But I'll tell you the reason why it didn't make it in. And it's the stigma of the racing game and of we've been there, done that. If you look at all of the Game of the Year nominees, all of these titles, while yes, some of them are sequels, they're follow-ups, they all kind of come back in a different way on the new platform or do something different than what we've seen before, despite not being a higher rated game. Resident Evil Village would probably be the one that's the least, I would say, innovative or new when it comes to like what you'd expect, because obviously it's coming off of the very successful Resident Evil 7. So they just kind of made it another one, you know, so I understand that. I do think Forza maybe could have surpassed that game on this or replaced that game on here. Obviously, you have games like Monster Hunter Rise that definitely had a case to be on this list as well. So it's definitely tough when you're talking about these different games and everything. And I understand from like the Forza Horizon fans, you know, perspective that, hey, wait a minute, this is the highest rated game. This game pretty much just got universal acclaim. There's pretty much no mixed reviews on Metacritic. It's a fantastic game that you can lose yourself into for hours. Has great graphics, great controls, great design, also very accessible. Pretty much anybody can play it, even disabled. Like there's just so many different things that this game does, and it definitely deserved that nod. But yes, it was snubbed, but it's the stigma of racing. It's Forza Horizon 5, right? So Microsoft has this series, Forza, that has Forza Motorsport, and then there's multiple games in that, and now Forza Horizon, and there's multiple games in that. So it's essentially, we've been there, done that, you know? It's just that there's so many of these Forza games, it gets to the point to where, yes, we know their quality, we know that you make them, you can control really well, it's really good, but we've played this game many times over. It's almost to the point to where it seems like to me that it's a Madden situation, it's a NBA 2K situation, It's games like that, right? Like we know, like the F1 motorsport games, we know it's high quality. Well, in Madden's case, not really high quality, but we know it's good. We've played this before. You know, it's a solid game. But at the end of the day, it's not something that has in-depth, I would say, lore or in-depth mechanics within a player taking control of a character and using that in a story and setting up different things, right? Boss battles and all that. It's just you driving at the end of the day, right? And like the out of car segments or like the story in the game is pretty bad, right? The out of car models and all that, pretty bad. And I understand that it's not supposed to be that. It's not focused on story, but I think that's the problem. That's exactly where the reviewers or the people that picked the panel, they said, we've been there, we've done that. Like all of the games that are on this list this year, they're all a bit different. They're all a bit obscure. Or like I said, coming back, you know, you have stuff like Ratchet and Clank, the first big PlayStation 5 game. You have games like Deathloop, which is a very unique and innovative type of game. You know, not as popular as Forza Horizon, but definitely different when it comes to certain things. Obviously, you have the return of Samus with Metroid Dread. I mean, there's just so many different things when you look at this year's Game of the Year nominees, and I can understand why Forza was left off. As somebody who, like, I would probably put it on there, just to be honest. I was on the Spawncast, and I thought that it was going to get the nod on there. So I would have definitely put it on there, but I can understand why they're thinking, well, we've played Forza. They continue to release the same Forza games, even though this one is way better. Obviously, the environment, the atmosphere, everything is just so much better. This might be the best Forza game ever made, whether it's Forza Motorsport or the Horizon series. But at the same time, like, they're doing the same thing. It's just you're driving it in a car. You're just moving the control stick and you're driving, and it does not have those in-depth gameplay mechanics that you would see in these other games with the boss battles, with certain character progression, not based off of like a car. So I get it, you know, and I understand. I know that that's necessarily kind of weird, right? Because it's a video game at the end of the day, and how well that video game is, it should be judged on that, not because it's a racing game. But I'm telling you right now, with how the nominees work, these racing games and these sports games, they definitely get put into a separate idea or separate ideology as a single player driven experience, right? Or something like that, because all of these games that are Game of the Year have these either single player experiences driven that are different and unique and kind of go to different levels and have whimsical nature to them, or a very dynamic nature to them, or it's something like It Takes Two. That's a innovative, you know, two-player experience that you can go through with someone in various different levels and locations and doing different things, not just driving around an area, right? So I think that's the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that it's been there, done that, and that's the reason why Forza Horizon 5 got snubbed at the Game of the Year awards. Once again, I would have probably put it on there if it was up to me, but I'm not the one who votes on there. And yeah, I can see why the fans out there are very upset. But on the good news, I alluded to this a little bit earlier, I mentioned it, but 10 million players for Forza Horizon 5, the largest launch in Xbox history when it comes to games. This is Game Pass, people. This is paid physical, digital, everything combined. They just announced this. So despite it getting snubbed at the Game Awards 2021, that doesn't mean people aren't racing through Mexico and having a blast in the game. And that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the game because it wasn't nominated. Heck, this happened to me a number of years ago where I criticized it's one of my favorite games is Fire Emblem Three Houses, and that was one of the highest rated games of the year, and it was left off compared to games that were not as high rated. So I understand exactly where people are coming from, especially the Forza fans. Now, I've just played a bit of it. I definitely need to play some more, but from what I've played, it seems like an extremely high quality game that definitely deserves some Game of the Year nods. But it's one of those things to where you can't really change anything. You can't really do anything about it. This is what they're always going to think. It's going to take a racing game that goes above and beyond the call, and the story needs to be in depth, and it needs to have really good, you know, mechanics, maybe even outside of your car. It's going to take something crazy for a racing game to win Game of the Year, or at least get nominated for Game of the Year, because of how you just play a racing game, because of how racing games are. So we'll see what works out in the future. But yes, Forza Horizon 5 was definitely snubbed, But hey, it is what it is when it comes down to it. So what are your thoughts when it comes to Forza Horizon 5, and did it get snubbed? Did it not get snubbed? How do you feel about this whole situation? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.